Hello and welcome to Fintech Chatter, brought to you by Tier 1 People, leaders in Fintech executive search. I'm your host, Dexter Cousins. Today's guest is Matt Baxby, country CEO of Revolut. He joins me to talk about their recent raise, valuing the business at $33 billion US. Matt's been acting as global banking CEO for this past year, and he shares his unique insights into what has made Revolut the UK's most valued fintech. He also shares his own experience of launching a business during COVID with a fully remote workforce. But before we chat to Matt, I've got a special opportunity to share with our tech community. We've been engaged by a leader in the digital banking space to find a principal architect. It's a newly created role reporting directly to the CIO. You'll be the person who gets to build and scale and turn a startup bank into an enterprise. For more info, check out the show notes or head over to the Tier 1 People LinkedIn page. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Fantastic to be here, Dexter. Hard to believe it's been over 12 months since we last spoke.
12 months of, I'm going to say this and I haven't said it for a long time, an unprecedented year.
That's it.
Yeah, so it has been 12 months and look, an unbelievable 12 months for everybody, but a remarkable 12 months for Revolut. I think when we spoke, the business had just been valued at £5 billion or US dollars. Can't remember which one. But a massive announcement last week. Do you want to share it with everybody?
Yeah, enormous news for us, but we closed our Series E round, so raised US $800 million. It was a $33 billion US valuation. And yeah, that put Revolut in the category of the UK's most valuable fintech. I love this particular post that I saw from the Evening Standard, which said, startup bank worth more than NatWest in the UK. Quite incredible. But yeah, that was a 6 times lift in valuation since the Series D, which was 18 months ago. So, in a lot of ways, I think just great validation for our founders and the broader team around the work we've been doing over the last 12 months. And I think what the investors took a lot of confidence from was a couple of things. One, incredibly fast-growing user base globally. We've passed the 16 million customer milestone. We're signing about 15,000 new customers per day, and that's kind of filling a stadium every 3 days if you put it in those terms. Jeez. I think alongside that, launching and building towards this financial super app, and I think the innovation as Revolut's got bigger hasn't slowed down. Even the announcement last Thursday of Revolut Stays, which gives customers access to a whole stock of places that they can stay when they're booking travel. And when you think about it, it's sort of a natural place for Revolut to go, given some of its heritage. And alongside the product development, the build out of Revolut globally, this drive towards becoming a truly global banking platform, and having put a CEO and a great team on the ground in India, a number of markets in Asia Pacific and Latin America that we're looking at. So as I said, I think really good validation in a lot of ways of the work that's been done, and I think it really does sort of set us up for the next phase in terms of continuing to grow.
Fantastic. Now some big names in that investor list as well. Softbank was in there.
Softbank and Tiger really align with the vision of building a global financial super app, and they, I think history's shown that, often as markets develop, it's 1, 2, or 3 big players in each market that tend to get momentum and then start to dominate. And probably a bit like the choice I made in joining Revolut. I think they've voted that Revolut's got a really high prospect of being one of those.
Talking about that, Matt, it was actually 2 years ago, I think, pretty much to the day that I first approached you about this, the Revolut country CEO role. And at the time, there were 4 million customers. And it's just remarkable to see that, that growth. It's 4 times the kind of customer base. in 2 years. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, there's been a number of milestones like that. As you say, when we started talking was sort of 4 million. I think by the time I signed, it was 6. By the time I joined, it was 9. It was then 12. And, as I said, kind of flew through 16. Quite amazing.
Yeah. Now, you just touched on the new travel product that you've launched. And look, one of the questions that I've got is that, for me, Revolut was synonymous with travel. I remember end of 2019, I was in Barcelona and I was using my Revolut card everywhere. And everywhere I went, people were saying, "Oh, wow, you've got a Revolut card too." And it was, I was like, "Oh, this is huge." But then COVID hit, travel stopped. It still stopped. I mean, we're 18 months on, and yet Revolut announced that they had gone break even and were nearly making a profit as well. What do you think is, or what has been, the kind of secret to actually still getting that growth and actually moving to a break-even point, even though you've had that massive headwind of the travel industry just being smashed?
It's a great question. I think a lot of it is rooted in the fact we became more than just an intermittent travel product, and this drive towards a financial super app offering features that really drive strong engagement with its customers. And international travel hasn't been around, but the void's almost been filled. Partly probably because of people having a bit more time on their hands, but interest in things like alternative asset classes of crypto and the share market more generally, and that's a bet I guess Revolut put down early on in terms of that there'd be kind of mainstream interest in crypto, and making it much more accessible to people has proved to be a real winner. And those types of features alongside an example, an offering for small businesses in Revolut Business, and understanding that existing banks just weren't serving those customers well. They paid over the odds for foreign exchange when they were doing remittances. Often small businesses, the absolute lifeblood of the economy, and a number of large markets we're in have big import-export markets, and even that part of the business has grown to more than 500,000 customers at the end of 2020. And again, it comes back to Revolut standing for more than just one vertical, really the build out of all of these adjacencies. And that was a decision, a deliberate strategy that they took a number of years ago. And in a lot of ways, that's what's seen us not just survive COVID, but continue to prosper and attract that investment and really give us ammunition to continue to build.
Usually, when I've got guests on the show, Matt, we tend to be talking mainly about Australia, but I think was it since September last year you've been sitting acting in the global banking CEO role for Revolut. I wondered if you could share with us just what you've seen from a global perspective of being in that role, and kind of what you're seeing is happening out there.
Yeah, I think in some ways being offered the opportunity, and I agreed to do it for an interim period, was going to be a bit shorter, and as these things tend to roll, it's been sort of 10 or 11 months. But in some ways, a silver lining of COVID, because I don't think an Aussie sitting in his wardrobe in Brisbane, I'm sitting in my wardrobe because that's where I work.
I was going to say the sound quality is fantastic.
would be presented with an opportunity like that. But I learned a huge amount, and probably some of the key things that I've sort of reflected on in the last 11 months while I've sitting in that, and it covered sort of Revolut's 7 major markets across the US, UK, East and Western Europe. We've got a presence in markets in Japan and Singapore and Australia, and looking at, as I said, rolling into APAC and Latin America. But this idea that there's a tidal wave of change that's upon us, and every market without exception is being disrupted, and it's fintech and neobanks that are filling the void. Case studies in new markets like Brazil, where new banks hit 35 million customers, or Paytm in India, which has some, in excess of 300 million customers. Yeah. And I think that story is being better understood by investors. Capital's being attracted, and as a result, they've now got the ammunition to really take, incumbent banks on. So there's sort of this tidal wave. I think, in terms of some of Revolut's learnings as we've kind of globally expanded was, the importance of having really good teams on the ground in each market. And it sounds trite, but it does absolutely all start with the talent. And our thinking around that is we want great CEOs in each market, building their team, securing the foundation in terms of the licenses that they need, coming up with the go-to-market strategy, localizing product, and then beginning to scale. And having someone own that from right at the front end, it's our first or second hire in each market. It has been a bit of change in thinking, but it has been the secret to kind of really taking markets on. It's been a great 10 or 11 months, and the breadth of the role. As I said, I learnt a huge amount, and I think it's quite amazing that to be presented with an opportunity. It's so unique because Revolut is unique in the sense that it's rolling out globally in the way it is.
Yeah, and look, nobody's ever going to take that off your resume, right? I mean, as you say, what an experience.
Yeah, and I definitely didn't do it for the mark on the CV. It's to have the opportunity to help the founders put the foot down in our global rollout. That's a cool thing to be part of. Yeah,
absolutely. Now you talked about the launch in Oz, and you did join at a time where I think it was February 2020, and a month later, everybody's in lockdown. You were just beginning to hire the team. And now you've built a team, and I think we were at Intersect, what was it, in May, and I think it was the first time the team had been together in the same room almost a year and a half later. How have you gone about making the Revolut team a success despite all of those challenges?
Yeah, it is and was a kind of really unique challenge, and probably not one that I expected. I think the situation we found ourselves in launching a business in COVID times was, and building a team was, sourcing, interviewing, onboarding, all needing to be done virtually, and that does create some pretty unique challenges in terms of how do you build a team culture, how do you build personal relationships so that the team's really effective in terms of how they collaborated. I think in our case, we had the benefit of something that galvanized the team, which was, a set of really clear objectives and this real desire. The reason people were drawn to join Revolut in Australia was to have an impact in the local market and have an impact personally. And to have a sort of galvanizing spirit like that made a huge difference. Getting all of the product features out, getting through to public launch, beginning to scale, starting to put some marketing investment down, seeing great feedback from our customers. I think that's a great way to bring a team together. And it almost became incidental, the fact that it was being done virtually. And as you say, strange in a way that the first time in a lot of cases, probably half of the team I had the chance to meet them was when we opened our new office in Melbourne. But great team spirit. I'm really proud of the team that we've built. Fantastic talent. We've drawn them from, a variety of places and different types of experience across sector. Some not even financial services. I think we got a great existing team, and the intention is to grow out from the 30 that we've put on the ground in Australia, probably double that in the next 12 months as we sort of really go for our plans. So again, it does sound trite. It is all about the people. We wouldn't achieve what we have and what we will without a great team on the ground. And I feel really confident we've got a great group to be able to build on.
Now, you and I have experienced kind of firsthand the Revolut recruitment process. It does have its critics out there. I can't help but think that the success that you've had and being able to do this in what are unprecedented circumstances, that the robustness and the precision, and the actual, I guess, the ethos of the recruitment process must have in some way lent itself to being able to get this team that could deliver in such, just as I say, unprecedented circumstances.
Absolutely. And in some ways, we don't make any apologies for that. I think, and a lot of it comes from our founders themselves in terms of not compromising on the talent bar, absolutely going after the top 1 or 2% in terms of people, and also going looking for a certain sort of mindset. And one of the features of that is a real bias to action, a real focus on outcomes. And in some ways it presents a unique kind of recruitment challenge, because in a lot of cases we're drawing from banks in terms of, having the foundation skills around things like risk and compliance. I think is really important. And, they are taught good disciplines as they come through banks, but they're unique individuals that we go looking for, because they're the ones that don't get caught up in either politics or, committee structures where accountability might not be that clear, or you don't know the objectives that you're going after. It tends to, people who are successful at Revolut are the ones that can drive through all of that and, deliver really tangible outcomes. They tend to be really data-oriented and fact-based as well. And as I said, they are drawn to the ambition that Revolut has in terms of, where we're trying to take things globally. So, it's not a straightforward recruitment process, but, there's a reason for that. And that's identifying the people that, we're really confident will be successful in the firm.
Yeah. And what would you say is, once you get the top 1-2% of talent, what would you say are the things that actually keep people there? Because that's the other thing, you've not really lost any people despite it being unprecedented times as well.
Yeah, I think it comes back to, great people are drawn to having impact and doing impactful work. And, I think a combination of, where the technology that's made available, we're not encumbered by legacy. We're able to move fast. We're very focused on outcomes and driving towards solving real problems for our customers. And, as I said, really high caliber people. You'd have all the best kombucha and ping pong in the world. At the end of the day, what really matters is, am I having an impact? And is the company I'm working for having an impact in the broader market? And can I connect what I'm doing day to day to that sort of broader mission? In our case, the first truly global banking platform and building out this financial super app. I think that's been coupled with, some really interesting initiatives we've driven in the last 12 months, and COVID's forced us to think a bit differently about that. But things like offering people an ability to work anywhere globally for 2 months per year, because we've found that you don't need to be sitting in an office to do impactful work. And if anything, being a global company, we can offer people that we haven't seen that have any impact on the outcomes we're able to drive towards and delivery there. And I guess it's just a different way into it. But to answer your question directly, I think it all rises and falls on people's ability to have impact, and that's what draws them to the place, and that's what keeps them.
Now, you talked about the super app, and look, I want to cover that because it is, I think, a super app. And when I cast my mind back 2 years ago when we had the official launching of Revolut in Oz, and they were walking through the product roadmap and what it would look like. I remember some other heads of neobanks being in the room and thinking, oh, geez, how are we going to compete with this? It's great to see that it's actually all coming together as a user. I've benefited personally from the crypto app and roundups. I've benefited from, and my kids have benefited from Revolut Kids. It's a really fantastic, I guess, one, user experience, but two, to finally have something where I can just transact seamlessly. And if, particularly with things like crypto, it's painful in Australia, right? Trying to invest. And yet here we've got an app which just makes it easy. You can just set and forget. What would you say have been the kind of biggest features here in Australia that you've seen the uptake on, Matt?
Yeah, well, you've hit the nail on a few of the heads there, Dexter, actually.
Well, there you go, right? It comes straight from the consumers or the customers.
Yeah, right? That's right. That's how we always like it to be. But I think crypto, we definitely caught the wave a little, but that was quite deliberate. And I think the key was really identifying that for most Aussies there was probably a lack of clarity around how they could get exposure and some uncertainty as to how that all worked. So I think Revolut provided a really accessible and seamless way of giving exposure to cryptocurrency, and that's been reflected in the uptake that we've seen. Junior accounts, I think, has been terrific for engagement. I think having it's funny, and I know you're an avid user of Revolut Junior as well. It just drives a closer tie between parent and child around money, and sort of sparks the conversation in a lot of ways around where's money being spent, what it means to save, etc. And again, it's been a great engagement product. Then in addition to that, I think shopping rewards, I think supporting a whole bunch of charities through our donations features been really well received. And alongside that, I think iterating and bringing new products out, like some of the ones I've spoken about, has been important. But at the same time, continuing to build on the base that we have there. So as you say, trying to make the CX around the core payments capability as seamless as possible. Basic features like getting faster payments inbound, live, getting local account capabilities built, adding 15 new crypto tokens to our platform. It's not just a case of launching big headline features. It's as much around building on what we already launched, listening to customers around that, and kind of bringing that to market. And in terms of the outlook, I think it's probably two things that we're putting a lot of work and thinking and putting the foot down to bring to market. I think one is around democratizing access to the share market for people, particularly US stocks, and we've seen that across the kind of industry, people driving towards that. But one of the insights for us is around if you look at the US share market, a single share can cost a couple of $1,000. A feature that's worked well for us in Europe and UK around that is providing fractional ownership of shares. So again, just makes it much more accessible to Aussies. And then the other, as I touched on, I think the small business market is continues to be really underserved. It's a very good reason the incumbent banks continue to talk about it, and that's because it's a huge opportunity in Australia, and one we think will be able to bring real impact to given the way small businesses are charged in Australia, particularly for foreign exchange.
Yeah. So if we kind of take the major banks out of the equation, and the mid-tier banks, if we look at the neobanking landscape here in Australia, a couple of years ago, we had quite a number of different options. It now looks like, really we've only got Revolut who's still pushing ahead. What would you say, is the lesson that you've kind of taken from the Revolut story? What would you say is the kind of lesson there for anybody who's looking at launching a fintech and the path that Revolut have followed to get to this point?
Yeah, I think building the breadth of those features was pretty deliberate, but it was also based on a very clear set of customer needs that we identified and opportunities there. So that was kind of the basis for the strategy. And I think that's where the real advantage that fintechs have over, as you say, incumbent banks and others is being clear in the problems that you're trying to solve, and that, you know, taking some comfort for the fact that incumbent banks probably aren't going to be very good at solving them, not at least quickly. So I think, it really is that intersection of, clear problem statement or consumer need that's being met, and then being able to accelerate into that to solve it. And I think that's so important. I still swing back to culture being so important and such a kind of key ingredient in the sort of special sauce. I think in Revolut's case, that mindset around driving towards outcomes, getting things done, again, I think that's one of the things that really sets it apart, and as part of the culture that I don't think will change even as we get bigger. And that's really what's driven a lot of the momentum.
Do you think that focus as well around data? I mean, I was almost mildly embarrassed when I presented the task to you when we were going through that process around data. But hearing you talk about the emphasis on it and how that has been, the kind of the genesis of the product development and the product suite. Do you think that kind of this focus on data, has been kind of has aided the culture in actually delivering the super app?
Totally. I think, starting from a clear fact base, drawing out customer behaviors and the feedback that we get and the level of engagement. The mere fact we measure engagement as closely as we do is such a contrast to my experience in incumbent banks, where the business model in a lot of ways is built on apathy rather than necessarily positive engagement. And, I think, again, in Revolut's case, measuring that really closely, understanding any changes in it, seeing the features people are engaging on, that driving prioritization. It's absolutely all it's all linked. And as you say, I think it's a great point, Dexter, that it is one of the key points of difference. And it's a key part of the recruitment process for us, because every single person in the team is typically good with data, analytical, pretty structured, and that again serves us well in terms of being able to accelerate into solving problems.
So it's been an incredible 12 months, Matt. How are you going to repeat it or better it over this next 12 months?
Yeah, big plans for the next 12. I think, obviously more products, continuing to scale our business, growing the local team. There are a few of the kind of main priorities for us. I think the last 12 months has given us, even more confidence about the opportunity in Australia. We just firmly believe it's wide open and that Revolut has a great opportunity to go after it. And, having adjusted to the sort of new normal of COVID and, changes in consumer behaviour, international travel being sidelined, if anything, we've probably got more comfort and confidence to continue to invest. Yeah. And I think you'll see a lot more of Revolut in the next 12 months, particularly around marketing. Yeah. It's something that we've built a lot of confidence around, and in a lot of ways, international travel coming back.
Oh man, I was just going to ask that. I mean, it's that's been a massive part of the Revolut business, and when that comes back, it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, it's funny, but we're in this fortunate position of not being reliant on that. It's really when it does, and it will eventually, heaven forbid, we can get on a plane again and go overseas. I think that's when the network effect sort of really accelerates, because people will see another set of use cases that they haven't really been exposed to in the last 12 months. And as you say, in a lot of ways was the original heritage of the product that drew so much growth in the UK and Europe to begin with.
Yeah. And I guess if anybody's interested in downloading the Revolut app and checking it out, where do they go?
Apple, Google Play Store. But yeah, also jump on to Revolut.com and a lot of detail around the product and careers and everything that's happening.
Awesome. Matt, it's been great to have you back. And look, congrats on just a phenomenal 12 months to, everybody at Revolut. I mean, it's just great to see.
Awesome, Dexter. So good to talk as always. Thank you, mate.
And you can connect with me, Dexter Cousins, on LinkedIn and Twitter. For early access to new shows and updates on the latest exclusive opportunities through Tier 1 people, subscribe to our newsletter by visiting the Fintech Chatter page on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, remember to press follow on your favorite podcast player and please consider leaving us a review. It really does help me in bringing in great guests and help fintech fans like you discover the show. Fintech Chatter is presented by Tier 1 people, leaders in fintech executive search. We'll help you launch, scale, and innovate by delivering world-class talent. And you can find out more at tier1people.com. Until the next episode, stay safe